Parents canceled my graduation party to fund my sister's luxury beach trip.
She deserves it more, they said.
So I left and moved in with Grandpa. The next day, they were panicking, calling nonstop.
Why?
Because Grandpa had a surprise of his own. I still remember the way my heart pounded the day I walked out of my last college exam.
I should have been excited.
I should have been glowing with pride. 4 years of hard work, sleepless nights, and endless assignments, all behind me now. But as I stood there in the hallway, surrounded by classmates making summer plans, all I could think about was one thing: home. Not because I missed it, but because I was scared to go back. You see, I've never really felt like I belonged in my own family. My name's Olivia Carter, I'm 22, and I just graduated with a degree in accounting from a university here in Austin, Texas. My whole life, I've felt like the shadow in someone else's spotlight. That someone else is my older sister, Lily. She's 28 now, practically a celebrity in her house, and online, too. She's a full-time social media influencer, with sponsors, trips, and thousands of followers who adore her. And my parents? They treat her like she hung the stars in the sky.
Me?
I was always the quiet one. The girl who wore Lily's old clothes and ate leftovers while she got steak dinners and designer bags. If there was a party, it was for Lily. If there was praise, it was for Lily. I could win awards, ace tests, land scholarships. It didn't matter. They'd say, "That's nice, Olivia," and then go right back to talking about Lily's latest bikini photo shoot. But I kept pushing. I kept studying. Because there was one person who saw me, who always saw me. My grandfather, Walter. He's my mom's dad. He used to be a CPA before he retired, and he was the only one who ever encouraged my love of numbers. When I told him I wanted to study accounting, he smiled like I'd just told him I planned to win the lottery. "You've got a mind for this," he said. "Don't let anyone make you feel less." He never did. And that's probably why, a few weeks ago, he called me and said, "I've got a surprise planned for your graduation. You won't believe it." At the time, I had no idea what he meant, but it made me smile. I needed that hope. I needed to believe that this time, just this once, my family would actually show up for me. I even allowed myself to imagine it: balloons, maybe a cake, maybe even friends gathered in our living room. I let myself feel that tiny bit of excitement, even though I should have known better. The day I went home, my backpack still full of notes and my heart full of nerves, I stepped into the house and knew immediately something was off. No music, no decorations, no scent of food cooking, just silence. "Mom," I called out. "Dad." They were sitting on the couch, watching TV like it was just any other day. "Oh, hey honey," my mom said, barely glancing up. "You're home early." "Early?" I looked at the clock. "It's 3 p.m. You knew I had my last exam today." Dad finally muted the TV.
Right.
"Graduation. Congrats." That's all he said.
Congrats.
I stood there frozen. So, where is everyone? Where's the celebration? They exchanged a look that made my stomach twist. My mom sighed. "Look, Olivia, we need to talk. Your grandfather sent us some money, about $12,000, to help organize something special for you." But my heart leapt. "Wait, Grandpa sent that?" "He said he had a surprise." "Let me finish," she said sharply. Lily needed a break. She's been under a lot of stress lately, and Aaron planned this beach trip for her. It's a luxury thing. Very high profile. She needed to be there. I blinked. "You gave my graduation money to Lily? For a vacation?" "It was important to her brand," my dad added, like that made it okay. "And I mean, Olivia, you don't even like big crowds." I felt something shatter inside me. "I never said that," I whispered. "I never said I didn't want a celebration. I never said I wanted to be forgotten." They looked uncomfortable, like I was the one causing the problem now. Like I was being dramatic. "We figured you'd understand," Mom said, her voice tight. "Your sister's working hard, building a name. You're just getting started." I opened my mouth, but I couldn't speak. The words were stuck, caught between heartbreak and rage. And that's when the front door opened. I turned, and there he was. Grandpa Walter, dressed in a navy blazer, holding a wrapped gift and a small bouquet of flowers. The smile on his face faded as soon as he saw mine. "What's wrong?" he asked, stepping inside. I couldn't even answer. I just looked at my parents. They didn't speak, didn't move, and Grandpa figured it out. He set the gift down gently, then turned to me. "Go pack your things, sweetheart. You're coming with me." I hesitated, looking back at my mom. She didn't even try to stop me. So I walked upstairs and began to pack. I don't remember much from the drive to Grandpa's place that afternoon. Just the sound of the engine, the city passing by outside the window, and the silent storm building inside my chest. I didn't cry. I didn't even speak. I just stared out the window, gripping my backpack like it was the only thing still mine. When we pulled up in front of his apartment building, a clean, modest high-rise in downtown Austin, Grandpa turned to me. "Come on, kiddo. Let's try to put a little light back in those eyes." He smiled, but I could see the pain behind it. Inside, his apartment was warm and quiet. Jazz music started playing softly through the speakers the second he walked in. Familiar. Safe. I sank into the couch, letting the soft cushions catch the weight of my body and my emotions. He didn't ask questions right away. He just picked up the phone and ordered dinner from my favorite Thai place. Then he disappeared into the kitchen, pulled out 2 sodas from the fridge, and handed one to me. We sat in silence until the food arrived. And then, finally, as I picked at my noodles, he spoke. "I gave them that money because I wanted you to feel seen. For once."
His voice was low, calm.
Didn't expect they'd use it to fly Lily out to the beach. I didn't respond. I couldn't. My throat was tight. He leaned forward across the table. "Olivia, I need you to hear me when I say this. None of this is your fault.
Not now.
Not ever." My eyes burned. "Then why," I whispered, "do I always feel like I'm in the way?" He sat back and let out a long breath. "Because your parents never dealt with their guilt. That's not on you." I looked at him, confused. "Guilt?" He nodded slowly. "They never told you the truth. About when you were born." I froze. "What truth?" He looked out the window for a moment, like trying to find the right words in the sky. Then he turned back to me. "Your mother almost died giving birth to you.
It was complicated.
Emergency surgery. Weeks in the hospital. After that, she pulled away."
From you.
"From everyone." I blinked. "But that's not my fault." "No," he said quickly. "It's not. But she never separated her fear from you. And your dad? He followed her lead. Lily saw how things were, and she followed theirs. It was like this silent agreement. Pretend Olivia's not there, and maybe life stays easier." I felt my stomach twist. So, I was a reminder of something awful. He shook his head firmly. "You were a blessing they didn't recognize. But I did. I've watched you grow into someone strong, smart, and kind. You worked for everything, even when no one gave you a hand." He reached across the table and gently squeezed my hand. "You're not in the way. You're the one who found her way, all on her own." Tears slipped down my cheek. Not loud, not messy, just quiet, steady pain being let go. That night, I stayed in the guest room.
I didn't sleep much.
Just stared at the ceiling and listened to the city hum outside the window. The next morning, Grandpa made pancakes. I was halfway through mine when his phone rang. He answered, listened, then handed it to me. "It's Lily." I almost didn't take it, but I did. Her voice came through sharp and panicked. "Olivia? What did you do?" "Grandpa's cut off all my cards. I can't pay for anything. Aaron and I are stranded at this stupid resort." I pulled the phone away and stared at it for a second. "Lily," I said slowly, "I didn't do anything. Grandpa did this because of what you did." "Are you kidding me? You're being dramatic." "You always are. I needed that trip. It's part of my job. With money meant for my graduation." I reminded her.
She scoffed.
"Oh, please. You wouldn't have even known if no one told you." My hands shook. "That's the point. You didn't think I'd notice. You didn't think I mattered." There was silence for a second. Then she hissed. "Fix this.
Talk to Grandpa.
Make him unlock my accounts." I handed the phone back to Grandpa without another word. He calmly pressed end call. She's in for a reality check, he muttered. But it wasn't just Lily. Later that day, we found out something even worse. My parents, they tried to file paperwork to have Grandpa declared mentally unfit, just days before my graduation. They wanted control of his finances. All of it. The only reason it didn't work? Grandpa caught wind of it, hired a lawyer, and met with a review board to prove his mental clarity. He told me all this over dinner, like it was just another casual story. I made them some tea, he said with a grin. Solved 3 Sudoku puzzles in front of them. Had them laughing by the end. They said I had more sense than most folks half my age. But the damage had already been done. He told me he'd already rewritten his will. He left the house to my parents, fine. But everything else? The savings, the firm, the accounts, all to me.
I didn't know what to say.
I was overwhelmed, grateful, angry, scared, all at once. You don't have to decide anything now, he said. But it's time you start seeing what I've always seen in you. I went to bed that night with my heart pounding. The pieces were falling together, but the story was far from over. Because the next day, something even stranger happened. Aaron showed up, right outside my campus. And what he told me changed everything. I wasn't expecting to see Aaron, especially not standing just off campus, leaning against a black BMW, wearing sunglasses like he was starring in some bad movie. I had just come out of the student center, grabbing a coffee before heading to the library. At first, I thought I was imagining things. But when he called my name, Olivia, he shouted with a grin, striding toward me like we were old friends.
Hey.
Been hoping I'd catch you. I froze. Aaron. I asked, confused. What are you doing here? He smiled wider, like this was all normal. Wanted to talk. Just for a few minutes. Everything in me screamed to say no. But curiosity, and something else I couldn't quite name, made me nod. We walked to a quiet bench near the trees, far from the student crowd. I kept a good few feet of space between us. So, he said, rubbing the back of his neck, I know this might sound crazy, but I can't stop thinking about you. I blinked. Excuse me? He leaned forward, eyes soft and serious, like a bad actor trying to land an Oscar. I'm serious. Ever since I met you, I knew there was something different. You're not like Lily. You're real. You're smart. You've got this depth to you. I stared at him in disbelief. You're dating my sister. He corrected quickly. It's over. We're not good for each other. We never were. Uh-huh, I said, folding my arms. And this sudden change of heart has nothing to do with my grandfather freezing your accounts. He flinched, just slightly, but recovered fast. I'm not gonna lie, that was a shock. But it made me realize what really matters. I don't want to be around people who just care about money and image. I want someone who's solid, grounded. I tilted my head. So you think that's me? He nodded. Absolutely. Look, Olivia, I know this is unexpected, but I want to be with you. I really do. We could start something new. Something better. I could barely keep a straight face, because it was so clear what this was. He wanted access. He wanted money. He thought I'd be easier to manipulate than Lily. I forced a small smile and said, That's a lot to take in. Maybe give me a few days to think about it. His eyes lit up. Of course. Take your time. I'll wait. I nodded, stood up, and walked away. But I wasn't going to think about it. Not really. I already knew. I just needed to confirm one last thing. That night, Lily called me. And she was furious. You disgusting little snake, she screamed the second I answered. How dare you steal my boyfriend? I stayed calm. Aaron came to me, Lily. I didn't do anything. Oh, shut up. He told me everything. He said he's in love with you now. You must be loving this, finally getting the attention you've always been so desperate for. I didn't reply. Just let her rant. You know why he really wants you, don't you? She snapped. He wants Grandpa's money. That's it. That's all it's ever been about. Bingo. There it was. So he used you, I said flatly, And now he's trying to use me.
Wow.
You think you're better than me now? She sneered. You're not. You're just the little nobody who got lucky. He'll drop you the second he gets what he wants. Well, he's not going to get anything, I said. Because I'm not as easy to fool as you were. She gasped. You selfish little.
Click.
I ended the call and tossed my phone on the bed. For a while, I just sat there. I wasn't even sad. I was angry, but mostly I was done. Done with the games. Done with the lies. Done with people pretending I didn't matter until I had something they wanted. The next morning, I put on my best jeans and walked back to campus with my head held high. Aaron was waiting again, like clockwork. Hey, he said, smiling, stepping toward me. Have you thought about what I said? I nodded. I have. His eyes lit up. Great, he said. So? No, I said, loud and clear. The answer is no. His smile dropped. Wait, what? You heard me, I said, my voice calm. I know what you're doing, and it won't work. He blinked, stunned. You're making a mistake, Olivia, he said slowly. You really want to turn down a guy like me? I laughed. A guy like you? Manipulative, fake, gold-digging? Yeah, I really do. His mouth twisted. Don't act like you're better than me. I don't have to, I said, brushing past him. I just am. He didn't follow me. He didn't say anything. He just stood there, stunned, as I walked away without looking back. That evening, I told Grandpa everything. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he smiled. I knew you'd handle it, he said. You've got the spine of steel your parents never had. We sat in silence for a moment. Then he added, You know, Olivia, I've spent a long time hoping someone in this family would carry on what I built. The business, the values, the work ethic. I think I've found her. I looked at him, unsure. You mean me?
I mean exactly you, he said.
If you want it, I'll start showing you how it's all run. From the ground up. I didn't answer right away. But deep down, something had already shifted. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel like the forgotten one. I felt like someone who mattered. It's strange how life can shift so quickly, how the people you thought were your forever can become strangers, and the ones who stood quietly in the background become your greatest strength. In the weeks after I shut the door on Aaron and by extension Lily, I started to rebuild. Not just my schedule or my plans, but my identity. Grandpa Walter meant it when he said he'd show me how to take over what he built. We spent hours in his office, tucked inside a small but respected financial advisory firm he had started decades ago. Nothing flashy, just honest work, real clients, and smart planning. He walked me through everything, his investment strategies, how he built trust with families, how he kept his values front and center no matter what. You don't need to be flashy to be great, he told me one afternoon as we reviewed a spreadsheet. You just need to know who you are and stick to it. Those words stayed with me. While I was learning how to handle numbers, I was also learning how to handle silence, the silence from my family. No one called. No one checked in. The few texts that came from unknown numbers I didn't open. I didn't need to. I already knew what they'd say. Accusations, guilt-tripping, maybe even threats disguised as concern. I blocked them all. I won't lie, some nights it hurt. There's something awful about knowing your own mother and father won't fight for you unless money is involved. But Grandpa reminded me gently every time I started to spiral. They didn't deserve you then, and they don't deserve you now. One day, I came home from the firm to find him sitting on the couch with a photo album in his lap. I sat beside him, without saying a word. He flipped a page and smiled. There was a picture of me, maybe 7 or 8, sitting beside him with a calculator in my hand, laughing like it was a toy. You've always been sharp, he said. Even when no one paid attention, you were watching, learning. That's what makes you dangerous, in the best way. I laughed genuinely. For the first time in a long time, I felt proud of myself. Not for surviving, but for growing. It was around that time I officially took on a part-time role at his firm, shadowing client meetings, managing spreadsheets, offering ideas. I had a long way to go, but Walter never treated me like a kid. He treated me like a partner. A few months passed. Seasons changed. I started my summer courses at the university and found a rhythm I liked: work, class, home, peace. One crisp afternoon, as we were walking back from the office, Grandpa stopped me on the sidewalk. "Let's sit a moment." We found a bench in a small park nearby. Birds chirped above, and the sun peeked through the clouds. "I've made it official," he said, pulling out a folded document from his coat. "Everything's signed and filed. The firm, the savings, the investments, they're all yours when I'm gone. But until then, I want us to build it together." My eyes welled up. "Why me?" I whispered. "After everything, why would you give this all to me?" He smiled softly. "Because you earned it, Olivia. You never needed applause to do the right thing. You've got integrity, strength, and heart. That's rare. And the truth is, I didn't save you." He turned, looking me square in the eye. "You saved yourself." That night, I sat by the window of our apartment and thought about everything I'd been through. The betrayal, the pain, the lies. But I also thought about what I'd gained. Freedom.
Clarity.
A sense of self I never knew I was allowed to have. My name is Olivia Carter. I am not the forgotten one. I am not the mistake they tried to ignore. I am my own person. And I am just getting started.